friends, it's Alyssa back at you with some final facts. I've got a really fun video planned for you guys today. And yes, I do genuinely mean the word fun, because I'm going to be taking Hunter Avallone down a few well-deserved notches. As you guys may have already seen, Hunter actually just made a video about me. He really shouldn't have, thank you. Let me go ahead and play the beginning of that video.
I have been called out once again, this time by a liberal girl who was so hurt by a discussion we had at Politicon a couple of weeks ago. She decided to make a 10-minute rant video venting about me so she can finally sleep at night once again.
Why are you so upset, Hunter? You were not even the main subject of my video. The last video I made was on reflections for Politicon in general, and I happened to include a chunk about my debate with Hunter, and that was it. But yet it's so funny that Hunter can make this joke that I had to make this video so I could sleep at night, but what about you having to make an almost 20-minute double the time response? What does it say? It says thanks for the clout, dude. So what about your fan base? Can we talk about your fan base for a second, Hunter? The fan base that you literally had to put a disclaimer on your video for, advising them not to come attack me. A handful of his supporters came over to try to attempt dialogue. The rest of them were 12-year-olds that pretty much told me to fucking kill myself. So yeah, nice. I can just say that if that's your base, I don't care if I had 500,000 people or 60 million people following me. If that was my base, I wouldn't be proud of it, not for one damn second. Well guys, after much deliberation regarding the reaction my previous video got, I have finally decided that yes, it's still quite okay to punch a Nazi. Yes, I'm advocating for violence against Nazis, but as far as I know, the very philosophy of Nazis implies destruction of those who don't qualify within their specific requisites of purity. So why should I be a pacifist against a dogma that is literally the opposite of peaceful?
You are mistaken. It's a lot more than just random irrelevant liberals calling people they don't agree with Nazis. The media perpetuates this deranged idea as well.
You said the word media, yet seeing how much you like to point out fallacies, just because B, being a part of A, said something, doesn't mean that it as a whole is representative of A. So no, the media is not calling everyone Nazis. Just because you want to showcase a couple outliers doesn't prove your point.
But what gives you the authority to decide who's an actual Nazi to begin with?
Who gives me the authority? History. History gives me the authority to identify a Nazi. Would you punch someone who is from ISIS? And yes, it is freedom of speech, but not freedom from consequence. Also, violence is a form that can be a deterrent. Look at the Unite the Right rally numbers in 2017 versus their numbers in 2018. It was low arguably because of the fear instilled in them from the previous year. Also, you seem to be making a false equivalence by repeating that I'm trying to shut down ideas when I'm only trying to shut down hateful ideas. Ideas that literally have a track record of committing violence should very well could be met with violence, and I don't see anything controversial about that. I also feel the need within this to bring something to Hunter's attention for the second time, and this should be said to every Republican troll that so passionately made a point to me that my yes to punching a Nazi was a deal breaker. If violence against someone who differs politically is a deal breaker for you, it wouldn't be too far off for me to assume that a leader who backs such an idea wouldn't be getting your support.
Well, I'll beat that.
I don't know if I'll do the fighting myself or if other people will.
Maybe he should have been roughed up because it was absolutely disgusting what he was doing.
If you see somebody getting ready to throw a tomato, knock the crap out of them, would you? Seriously. I'd like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
Try not to hurt him. If you do, I'll defend you in court. Don't worry about it.
In the good old days, this doesn't happen because they used to treat them very, very rough. And when they protested once, you know, they would not do it again so easily. As we become weak, we become weak.
And you know what? The audience swung back. And I thought it was very, very appropriate. The audience hit back. And that's what we need a little bit more of now.
Part of the problem and part of the reason it takes so long is nobody wants to hurt each other anymore, right?
I don't know if I would have done well, but I would have been out there fighting, folks. I don't know if I would have done well, but I would have been boom, boom, boom. I'll beat that.
Do you plan on paying for the legal fees of this older gentleman in North Carolina who sucker punched the protester?
From what I understand, he was sticking a certain finger up in the air. And that is a terrible thing to do in front of somebody that, frankly, wants to see America made great again.
It's possible you could help him with legal fees if this man needs it.
I've actually instructed my people to look into it, yes.
And for anyone who wants to argue the whole self-defense thing right now, only one of the instances from that video was in reference to a protester starting the violence first. And what's more, I'm also curious what y'all think about Trump's appraisal of violence in regards to Republican Greg Giannaforte body slamming a reporter. And said all of his rallies, he said, hey, if you are violent to people, I'll pay your legal fees and get you out. He said that. Your boy said that.
Okay, listen, everything Trump said, I don't agree with. I don't like everything Trump has said.
Okay, listen, everything Trump said, I don't agree with. I don't like everything Trump has said.
Look, if you're cool with Trump advocating for violence, then you should be cool with me punching a Nazi. And if you're not okay with me punching a Nazi, then you simply cannot praise Trump without showcasing a clear agenda and obvious hypocrisy.
Are you planning on offering any proof of what the dangerous and hateful agenda is that I'm buying into?
You want proof?
Let's be honest here. If being gay is what makes you special, you might actually be special in a different kind of way. So YouTube, maybe next year, rather than highlighting a faggy little parade in a queer in suspenders, we can focus on where gay people actually need rights.
Gay means happy.
It actually means faggot. So, anything you'd like to say, buddy?
Being bisexual isn't awesome, and being bisexual doesn't make you special. You just look like an edgy faggot.
Good one, Teddy!
And for those of you who say that these are taken out of context, guess what? Maybe a lot of what he said about me is taken out of context too. Transgenders.
Oh my word. Did you just refer to transgender people as transgenders? That is so incredibly derogatory and politically incorrect. I'm sorry, but you may need to issue an apology immediately. How could you be so disrespectful to transgender people? How could you be so disrespectful to Michelle Obama?
How could you be so disrespectful to Michelle Obama?
You're trying to be LeafyIsHere so hard. It is literally so cringy. Get new material, bro. You already used that one before. Also, according to you,
I've actually done more for the LGBT community than you ever have.
I've actually done more for the LGBT community than you ever have.
So you've done so much, but shock therapy is cool, you know?
I hate to sound like Mike Pence, but this is probably going to come as a shock to you.
Making people laugh at the gay community doesn't count as helping the gay community, Hunter. And by the way, nice assumption, Hunter. I view transgender individuals as equals. It is society that does not. Some groups occupy a unique social position of what social psychologists call shifting acceptability. This is a term coined by Stagner and Crandell in their book Stereotyping and Prejudice. These are groups that society has yet to determine if prejudice is or isn't justified against them. As it all depends on society's subjectivity, your jokes are either ironic attempts to subvert prejudice by bringing attention to stereotypes, like Chris Rock does, but let's face it, you're no Chris Rock, or they are covert attempts at prejudice hiding behind the label of a joke. But it's okay, Hunter. I know you just love capitalizing on other people's hatred of a group and hiding behind your comedian status.
You simply cannot speak as an authority on comedy. Comedy is far too abstract and subjective for you to try and act as an authority on the subject.
You're putting words in my mouth. I never said I was an authority on comedy. It was an opinion. By you stating I have an authority, it is you giving me the authority. So Mr. Shapiro Wannabe, you might want to get off your high horse.
I'm fully aware that there are people who hate gay people and want to discriminate against them. Have you ever heard of this little thing called Islam? I've made multiple, serious, researched, in-depth videos where I discuss the horrors the LGBT community experiences at the hands of Muslims in Islamic countries.
Nice way to generalize all of Islam, kind of like you did earlier with generalizing all of the media. But let me see, Why would you go after Islam? I wonder if it has anything to do with your supporters. Or maybe it's not just your supporters, maybe it's you too.
Hello, my name is Osama Ali Salah Muhammad, peace be upon him, and I am a proud Muslim.
We hate the ideology of Islam, not the followers of Islam.
So tell me, how can you say you hate Islam and not its followers when religion is part of one's identity? So you're not a bigot, you just hate a community is all you're saying. By the way, the sources you provide say Islamic State or ISIS. So all of Islam is ISIS now? Careful, Hunter, your agenda is really showing.
However, there is no mass genocide going on in America.
Sure, Hunter, there is no mass genocide. Your adjective, mass, implies a grand quantity. So I agree, the genocide isn't mass, but pockets of violence are undeniably happening. So tell me, Hunter, what number of deaths, for you, is it enough for us to punch a Nazi? Does your wording, attempting to commit genocide, count in this instance?
If you commit actions that limit free speech, that creates a culture far more dangerous than a culture where ideas go head to head, with the only judge of victory being the logic and articulation behind them.
Seeing how you like calling me out on my slippery slope, why don't you watch your own footing? Because you just committed one. I'm talking about dangerous ideas, yet you use the blanket term idea as if trying to shut down all ideas. And then according to you, without evidence, you say shutting down these ideas would lead to a more dangerous society. You have no proof, you're playing on solely hypotheticals. And Mr. Most High Free Speech Advocate, you must be vehemently advocating against Trump and Republicans that continue to specify their desire of making protest illegal? Guess what, Hunter? I did finally get to look at your sources. It's funny that your first source from the New York Times does state that there is no difference in the rates at which the shooting of blacks and whites by the police occur, but it does say that there is an increased excessive force used when it comes to police dealing with people of color. And according to you, it is because they are more likely to resist arrest, which you cite from this source. So let me try to break this down into a little more simplified terms because I know what I just said was a lot and you might have got lost in there. Essentially, Hunter is trying to push a narrative that the police use excessive force with people of color because for whatever reason, people of color are more innately likely to resist arrest. However, the truth of the matter is that people of color are more likely to resist arrest because the police are more likely to show excessive force towards them. Not to mention, there's a lot of data from newer studies that finally links police brutality as a consequence of systematic oppression within the police force and within American communities as a whole. I want to show you guys a little clip from this article. The problem of police killings of unarmed black victims should not be viewed merely as a problem of flawed action on the part of individual police officers, but more of a consequence of the broader problem of structural racism, said senior author Michael Siegel, professor of community health sciences at BUSP. Justified homicide by police should be added to the long list of the public health consequences of societal racism. The study used combined data on fatal police shootings of victims not known to be armed from January 1st, 2013 through January 30th, 2017, obtained from the Mapping Police Violence Project database, the most reliable source of data on police shootings. Or what about this study discussing the tangible and unique psychological effects police brutality leaves on people of color versus their white peers? Using mental health survey data in a database of police shootings, a team of health researchers concluded that when police officers in the United States kill unarmed black people, it damages the mental health of black Americans living in those states. The mental health of white Americans was not similarly affected, the researchers found, nor were negative health effects associated with police killings of unarmed white Americans or armed black Americans. As far as additional proof that Hunter's sources should be taken infinitely beyond face value, look no further than digging through much of what he uses to defend his views on the transgender community. His videos on this topic borrow evidence from Professor Paul R. McHugh, who is a prominent opponent of sex transition surgery, despite the fact much of the research McHugh references is outdated or misrepresented. And again, you guys don't have to just take my word for it. If you, again, take the time, go through any of Hunter's videos. Obviously, I can't do it because this video would be 2 hours long, but go through and take a look at whatever source that he's posted up on there, and then actually go look at that source. And 9 times out of 10, you're gonna find that Hunter, like Trump with most of his rhetoric, took a small half-truth from a situation or a story or a headline and then surrounded it with falsehoods to make it look true because it just had that small bit of truth in there. So yeah, that is my final facts, and I hope that you guys enjoyed it. And if you guys like what you see, please give me a subscribe, a like, anything like that, and check out my sponsor, Emilio Perez. I'm gonna drop some links for him below. And as always, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Love y'all, bye.